If I asked you to think of a short-scale Fender with single-coil pickups, switches, and a vibrato, the first instrument that comes to mind is probably the bass 6. The first instrument that probably comes to mind is either the Fender Jaguar or the Fender Mustang. And while these two guitars may seem pretty similar on paper, I promise there's a good reason why I absolutely love having both. Hi everyone, Nisabel here, and with me today are the two topics for today's video, my Fender Mustang Cali and my Fender Jaguar Ariel. Now, before we dive into comparing these two, a little disclaimer if you're new here. These two instruments are pretty heavily modded and tailored to me as a player, especially where the electronics are concerned. But even with their mods, I would argue that Ariel and Cali both retain all the things that make a Mustang and a Jaguar, including the same scale length, pickup type, pickup combinations, vibrato system, and the same potentiometer values as their stock counterparts. That being the case, if you'd like to see a stock-for-stock comparison as well as a good overview of both the Mustang and the Jaguar, I'd highly recommend you go check out Audiomo Music's video all about that right here and in the description below. So with that in mind, let's look at the specs for each guitar. Cali is a 1996 MG69 Mustang. Her body is made of basswood with a poly finish, and her neck is built with a 7¼ radius, 1.56-inch nut width, rosewood fretboard, bone nut, and vintage tall frets. For hardware, her loadout includes the stock made-in-Japan Fender Dynamic Vibrato, as well as the stock Mustang-style bridge. And for electronics, she is wearing a set of Seymour Duncan Mustang Antiquity 2s measuring at 6.5K in the neck and 6.6K in the bridge, a CTS 250K volume pot, and a CTS 250K push-pull tone pot for phase switching. Her pickup combinations include bridge, neck, both in parallel, both in series, and out of phase for both two pickup combinations. This is what she sounds like. Ariel is built on a 2016 made-in-Mexico alder body with a nitrocellulose lacquer finish on top of a poly sealer. Her neck is from a 1994 Fender Japan JG66 and has a 7¼ radius, 1.65-inch nut width, rosewood fretboard, bone nut, and vintage tall frets. For hardware, she's equipped with an American Vintage reissue vibrato, a Fender Mute, and a Mastery bridge. And for electronics, she is wearing a set of Lawler Jaguar pickups measuring at 5.8K in the neck and 6.3K in the bridge, CTS 1 meg pots in the lead circuit, and CTS 1 meg and 50K pots in the rhythm circuit. Her pickup combinations include bridge, neck, both, strangle switch for all three configurations, and the standard neck-only rhythm circuit. This is what she sounds like. For the rest of our rig, we are running both guitars into the Universal Audio Friedman Buxom Betty plugin, and we'll also be using the Nobel's ODR1 and my modded Devi Ever Hyperion Fuzz for some dirt. For our demo, I want to look at all the identical pickup combinations like bridge versus bridge, neck versus neck, and so on, but I thought it would also be fun to compare the similar positions like out of phase versus strangle switch and series versus rhythm circuit. So with all that in mind, let's get into it. Now, before talking about the sonic differences between these two, I first want to look at the playing experience of both instruments. There's a few aspects of each guitar that makes playing them unique. For example, Ariel's larger body is about twice the weight of Cali's, but it's also a bit more comfortable to hold when sitting, while Cali's thinner neck and note width allows for faster movement up and down the fretboard. But the biggest difference for me lies with each guitar's vibrato system. The Mustang Dynamic Vibrato is a much more immediate and reactive vibrato compared to the smoother, gradual pitch bends of the Jaguar unit. And with the way that I have her set up, Cali has a bit more range with the ability to pitch down about a major third compared to Ariel's minor third. All that to say, I think both units are fantastic depending on what you're looking for your particular sound and your playing style. Now, sonically, while there were certain pickup positions that sounded similar to each other, especially with some gain, overall, I would say Cali came off a bit darker than Ariel in pretty much every pickup position. To my ears, Cali has this mid-range roundness and natural compression to her sound that is warm when clean and really punchy at higher gain settings. On the other hand, Ariel has this bright and aggressive peak in the high mids that cuts through in every pickup setting, whether clean or distorted. However, my biggest takeaway from doing this comparison isn't so much the difference in sound, but more the range of sounds that each guitar has access to. Between the two out-of-phase settings, the series parallel switch, and even the stark difference between the neck and bridge pickup, Cali has a much wider range of sounds available to her, but the one sound that she doesn't quite have access to are the biting highs of a Jaguar. Overall, while these two guitars have a fair bit of overlap sonically, they both have sounds and tones that the other can't quite replicate. Now, up to this point, we've been looking at these two guitars from a purely comparative perspective, which makes sense since that's kind of the point of a comparison video, but I think the much more interesting question is, how do these two guitars work together? This video, I said that there's a very good reason why I love having both of these guitars. And that's because these two offset sisters are, to me, the perfect balance of similarities and differences. Their similarities allow both guitars to stand in for each other if one is out of commission or if I need two similar guitars in different tunings. But their differences make them the perfect counterparts to each other, allowing for dynamic musical arrangements with punchy lows and biting highs. So now I want to hear from you. What do your own ears tell you about these two guitars? Has your experience with your own Mustangs and Jaguars been different? Let me know down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next one. Happy playing!